Welcome to Fiery Discourse, your podcast or media featuring dragonesses, female dinosaurs, and other similar saurians and scalies. I'm your host, Ludmillanon, and with me are my co-hosts, Angron, Lucky Evie, Mathmachine, the Shark, Strkyer, and Jordan. And our special guest today is Python. Today is our 83rd episode, and we're discussing the 1994 animated made-for-TV movie, The Magic Flute. So, let's get things started.
Da-da-da-da, super fighting robot, da-da-da-da, Mega Man. Wait a minute, this isn't Mega Man. This is the Magic Flute.
Same studio, though, same studio. So,
absolutely.
Yep. The Magic Flute started as an opera written by Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, a composer who made some of the most beautiful and touching music ever made, but it was also completely and absolutely insane. If you haven't seen the movie Amadeus, go and see it. It pretty much chronicles what type of a guy he is, which was very interesting to say the least. Very, very interesting man. But
Indeed.
But this is an animated adaptation of it. It was animated by Ruby Spears, who's probably best known for working on the Mega Man cartoon, as well as many, many other stuff. They worked on Alvin and the Chipmunks, as well as lesser fare like Rubik's and the Amazing Cube. Thankfully, this is not as bad as that one.
Indeed.
Yep.
Math?
So, Math, you were saying?
To actually bring this back to a previous episode, they worked on the original animated special that was done for Bunnicula.
Oh, dang.
Interesting.
Really?
That is interesting. I did not know that. Yep. If only Queen Wicked appeared in that one, too. But regardless,
the movie has no big in it, so...
Yeah, definitely would have been very interesting to see her like that. But what's interesting about this movie, too, is who stars in this. This has actually got a pretty decent voice cast, but the main star of it, Prince Tamino, is voiced by none other than Mark Hamill. And this is in 1994, so this is around the same time he was voicing the Joker. So, and he actually does a pretty good job as the lead role in this. It's not so much like a character-driven one, but for what they wanted him to do, he does a good job with it.
Yeah, indeed.
Yep.
So someone who has a crazy character is in a crazy movie, per se.
Basically, yes.
This is basically just the Joker directing this movie.
You can honestly make that. You can honestly make that comparison. Yeah. But basically, what happens is this was a made-for-TV movie that actually aired in prime time of all places. So they had high hopes for this thing. But unfortunately, the opera had a lot of changes to make it a children's movie because the original opera is 2 hours long and this is 40 minutes. So, yeah, and we're going to talk about what they had to cut out because there was a lot of it. And it's definitely with some of the musical numbers, and we'll get to those in a little bit, don't you worry. But the... go ahead, Shark, sorry.
You can see just how fast this movie has to move from the get-go, because the opening credits, they go fast. They go really fast.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, it feels like they took the footage and they sped it up. Like, originally it was meant to be like a 2-minute long opening sequence, but the studio executives or network executives said, no, that's not fast enough. Get it overdone quicker. So they had to speed it up by like twice the speed. And it's very weird looking. It's supposed to be like this ornate book illustrations of all the things we're going to see in the story, but it goes by so fast that you don't really get a time to see it, or a chance to see it, rather.
Yeah, you just take the freaking script from the original Magic Flute, just flip it across the screen. It's just like, there you go, let's do the freaking movie.
Exactly. That really is what happens. But the movie itself begins in the forest with our lead character, Prince Tamino, riding through it while being followed by 3 fairies. The fairies' design kind of reminds me of a cross between the ones from Sleeping Beauty and the ones from Fantasia, and that's something that we'll talk about a lot more throughout this movie, is the character designs are interesting, to say the least.
Yeah.
But the 3 fairies basically say that... Oh, go ahead, Matt, sorry.
This is at least one thing I will give Ruby Spears compared to places like Filmation or Deke. Their character designs are more detailed and they actually pop compared to everything else. So at the very least, the characters look good.
Yeah, honestly, you just reminded me of the Mega Man and that one video showing Gutsman, and to those who have seen the show, I will leave you. Yeah, you know the meme.
But anyway, what probably helps is that Ruby Spears were actually former Hanna-Barbera animators, so they knew a thing or two about really good character design, because Hanna-Barbera also famously had really bad animation quality, but their character design was always iconic, and that's probably what really made people keep on watching. But what happens is the prince is returning home after having been away for a long time, and some of the animation does look a little off, like the horse's face looks a little wonky in a few scenes, but this is still probably one of the best looking things Ruby Spears ever did, because it was a made-for-TV primetime movie. They put a lot of effort into this. But it turns out that the prince is passing what appears to be a large rock, but it turns out to be a dragon who attacks him. Now, before you get excited, this is not the main dragoness we were talking about in the episode. This one kind of looks like a cross between I guess a way to put it would be Elliot from Pete's Dragon and Singe from Dragon's Lair. That'd be the best way to put it. But what happens is Prince Tamino leaps at the dragon. He strikes at it with his sword while it tries using its tail to swipe at him. The fairies mentioned is that this one is much braver than all the others as Tamino gets on the dragon's back. Tamino is eventually thrown off of it and smashes against a rock, which knocks him out. The dragon roars as it slowly approaches Tamino, but the fairies sprinkle magic dust on it and causes the dragon to melt, which...
Yeah, it actually was in the play. So, points for accuracy.
Yep, he actually does fight a giant serpent in there in the first things.
And the fairies help.
Yep. Shark, you were saying?
Yeah, also to get an idea of just how rushed this is, the whole fight with the dragon, something that you will usually take max, less than 3 minutes, maybe even 2.
Yeah, and believe me, there is a lot of other parts that happens with that will definitely get to why this is so rushed. But
what happened for this movie?
Again, this feels like a movie that was meant to be like an hour and 20 minutes, but they chopped the runtime in half, and you could definitely see that in some areas.
Mm-hmm.
The fairies, getting back to the actual story of it, the fairies ask if Tamino is all right, and when he stirs, mentions that he'll be fine, and they're going to head to the Queen of the Night. Obviously, the fairies do not know anything about head trauma. As Prince Tamino basically mumbles in his sleep, a trio approaches him, which consists of Grumbles the Crow, who really looks almost identical to Diablo from Sleeping Beauty, so it's got a similarity right there. Jack the Donkey, who does not speak, but who, like Grumbles, is also voiced by the voice acting legend that is Jim Cummings, who has been in everything. Peg Leg Pete, the Cheshire Cat, Cod. Basically, if you've heard anything from like Disney in the past 30, 40 years, you've heard this guy's voice.
Yeah, he was also Leatherhead in the original TMNT 1980s, so yeah.
Yep, but also we get to the third person, who is Papa Jano, the Birdman, who is a literal birdman as he is an anthropomorphic bird. Sadly, this movie would have been much better if instead of Papa Gino, it had Peppino from Pizza's Tower.
Not gonna lie, when I heard about the Nintendo parallels between Papageno and Mario, every time I see Papageno now, I imagine it's Mario and it's the freaking Lou Albano being like, if you aren't watching the Magic Flute, you'll turn into a Goomba. Or better yet, if you aren't watching the Magic Flute, you'll go to hell before you die.
That'd be a way to get kids watching for sure.
Yeah. Oh man.
Classic. So Yep.
Yeah, but this trio kind of brings something confusing about this world building, because we have a normal animal that can talk, a normal animal that can talk, and an anthropomorphical bird that can talk. And it's even weirder because these are the only examples of this type of characters in the whole film, so kind of feels something was cut too.
Yeah, that they meant to have more, maybe they were all meant to be talking animals at one time, but they turned it down, or they're meant to be more of them, but again, they cut them out for some reason, because it is weird, and it only gets weirder as the movie goes on, as we'll talk about it in a little bit.
Yeah, but all things considered, Papageno, I mean, as much as it doesn't add anything, it doesn't really take anything away either. They're helping. It is what it is, all things considered. No, I don't mind it. If anything, I like it better than what they did with the BBC '90s version.
Yeah, that is a weirder version than this. Let's go this way. But what happens is the group comes across, as Grumbles tells Papagino to take some of the gold coins he has. Papagino tries to take a few, but jumps back in surprise when Tamino wakes up seconds later. He then sees the shape of the dragon basically embedded in the ground as Papagino tries to give the prince back his coins. But in a twist that obviously was stolen from that hit 2004 movie Shark Tale, Tamino thinks that Papagino slayed the dragon and saved his life.
At least with Shark Tale, at least with this one, it's actually a lot shorter than what we got in Shark Tale. Mercifully so, even.
Although this does not have Sebastian the whale washing dolphin, so we got to knock down a few points for that.
Right? Yeah. Oh man.
But Tamino asks who Papagino is as the Birdman begins to sing, and it's here where we get to the main meat of the problem with the basically the cut runtime of this movie, is that the musical numbers are extremely short. None of them last longer than a minute, which in a musical, especially an adaptation of an opera, you should have at least dedicated a minute and a half, maybe even 2 minutes to it, because Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, to be fair, the opera itself had songs that were about a minute or so. And
true, but yeah, I understand. But they do feel a lot shorter, though, to be honest. And one thing I will say, too, is that Papagino's voice actor, at least in this moment of the thing, does not have a very good singing voice, so it's even harder to watch. And we also get another version of why he was made an anthro bird, which is weird, because basically Papagino his role in life is basically to catch birds for the king, but he is a birdman. He is an anthropomorphic bird. So this implies that in the universe of this made-for-TV movie, anthro birds are allowed to catch non-anthro ones for whatever reason. It is so weird. And it could have been avoided if they just made Papagino like a human being. So there's not really even a point to it.
I'm actually going to defend this for a second because this is actually from the opera itself. This is Mozart's craziness.
Yeah.
So wait, Papagino was an actual Birdman in the opera?
Yeah, he was.
Bird.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
okay, well, add that on to the list of things that you probably do not know about Mozart, that he was into anthro animals. He also had other fetishes, but let's not talk about that on this podcast, his other fetishes. Let's get off that, yeah. But anyway, Prince Tamino, after the song, wants to take Papagino to his kingdom as a reward for supposedly saving his life, with Grumbles being excited about all the gold they will get. We then cut to the castle where the fairies arrive to speak to the Queen of the Night. Now, the Queen's design is interesting because she looks like an exact cross between Maleficent from Sleeping Beauty and Grimhilda, aka the Wicked Queen from Walt Disney's Snow White. It's very interesting, and some of the designs, not all of them because they are good, but a few of them give me that Good Times Entertainment vibe to it, where it feels like they were trying to knock off Disney in a way while still kind of doing their own thing. But I don't know. It's not as bad as Good Times. It's nowhere near as bad as those guys, although this does not have the old man in it.
Yep, as a reminder, this came out in 1994 during the height of the Disney Renaissance. So the fact that there is a possible connection between two older Disney movie characters is probably really intentional.
It definitely was intentional. Oh, yes. You can definitely... Like I say, I think what it was is the TV network really wanted their own type of a Disney movie, but again, what happens is they probably killed it by cutting down the runtime, which again we'll talk about in a little bit. But what happens now is that the fairies tell the queen that there is a hero to save her kidnapped daughter, Princess Pamina, who is also a prince. They mention that the prince fought a serpent and almost won. I guess that means Prince Philip is better than Prince Tamino because he actually beat a dragon rather than Tamino, who's just knocked out by one and have to have the fairy save him. But the queen accidentally knocks down the fairies with her outstretched arm in a pretty cute joke. Then she tells him to get up as she wants to see her daughter home before her 18th birthday. And we then cut back to like a medieval style of village as Papa Jano is in the inn telling everyone about how he managed to defeat the dragon. And to give this movie credit, this is actually kind of funny. Like the way Papa Gino delivers his lines and he trips over his words while trying to tell more and more about his fantastical story. I did like this moment. Okay, go ahead, Chuck.
Yeah, that moment reminds me of Rango, actually, when he tells the story of how he killed the 7 brothers with 1 bullet.
Oh, dang, that's right.
Dear God.
Oh, man. Like, I will admit, he also kind of reminds me of another... He kind of reminds me of another moment, like, mainly Usopp, who is, like, telling the stories to Korai, or whatever her name was. And honestly, it's kind of hilarious a little bit.
Oh my gosh, that actually does. I do remember that. Yeah, that makes sense.
I can definitely see that. I definitely 100% can see that. But what happens next is that the Queen of the Night's carriage arrives as she enters the inn, and everyone else bows to her. And it's here one thing I noticed is some of the background characters look a lot more detailed than others, where it feels like they took the same face and copied it on different people. But again, probably had a rushed production with this. So go ahead, Chuck.
Probably different artists doing a character each, and their art styles clash here a lot.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good way of putting it. Papa Jano thinks that everyone is bowing to him, but they're really doing it to the Queen of the Night. The fairies approach. Yep, in a pretty cute gag. The fairies approach Prince Tamino as the Queen of the Night asks if he was the one who slayed the dragon. Tamino says that he weakened it, but Papa Jano was the one that defeated it. And in a really cute moment, the Queen of the Night just lets off like a sardonic smirk at this. Then she has the fairies literally put a padlock around his beak so he can't keep telling the story. Go ahead, sorry.
I mainly just did a little laugh because, like, they pretty much shut down that whole liar revealed thing pretty early, and that's honestly the good thing about rushing this particular story because, if any more, then we would have a lot less likable character in the form of Papageno. But thankfully, they avoid that.
Exactly. But what happens... The Queen tells Tamino that it was her fairies that saved him and not Papa Jano, who is forced to nod sadly at this. Tamino asks if there's a way he could repay the Queen as she takes him off to his carriage. I do like the gag of Papa Jano basically trying to sneak away out of the inn, but he's literally carried by one of the fairies off to the carriage as well.
Yep.
While inside, While inside the carriage, the Queen shows Tamino a magical projection of the princess, which is number 1 in a series of in what might be references to Star Wars, because they got Mark Hamill for it, so they probably thought, oh, let's do it like this. There's another moment that definitely feels like, oh, we got Mark Hamill, let's make a little Star Wars reference here. And I don't know, it's kind of weird that they do that, you know? It's subtle enough where you wouldn't think about it, but once you like make the connection in your mind, you will never unsee it.
Oh, dang.
Yep.
If it weren't for the fact that it's very obvious they're ripping off a lot of Disney stuff, I would say that this might be just a weird coincidence, but considering how heavily they're ripping off Disney, it's a pretty good chance they're also ripping off Star Wars because Hamill's in this. So, I'm willing to say that this is probably what they were intending.
I can see that.
Most likely.
It's pretty funny too because even without that, like the only other time it was blatantly obvious was another scene that was much later, but we'll get to that in a bit.
Yep, we will. Tamino says that the princess is beautiful as the Queen tells him that a few nights ago the princess was stolen by soldiers of the evil King Sarastro. The Queen claims that he lives in a hidden kingdom and that even if she found it, Sarastro would be able to defeat her as he knows her from the past. The Queen gets the help of Tamino, who is eager to save the princess. She tells him a cryptic message that Sarastro's castle is where the sun and the moon meet. So it's obviously in Canterlot, in Equestria.
It could also be in Alola.
That too could also be in Alola. That's another place. But
or
Tamino
Termina in Majora's Mask.
Wow, there are a lot of other options it could be in, all of which is better than where it actually turns out to be. Yep. But Tamino says he needs somebody from the area to help him, which causes the queen to look at the snooping Papageno. And it's here the Queen of the Night does the exact same thing that Gandalf did to get Sam to join the Fellowship, because she offers to remove the padlock if he agrees to help Tamino, and after he nods, she does so. So basically, he's forced into serving with Tamino for the time being.
Oh, man. This definitely reminds me of Krillin from Dragon Ball. Like, he's just, like, there, and then all of a sudden he's like, oh, snap.
I could definitely see that. But the queen then gives Tamino the titular magic flute, saying that it'll protect him from all evil, and if he plays it, it'll answer any wish he has, and to use it only in the case of an emergency. Tamino approaches Papageno, who is trying to stammering about what happened with the dragon, but because he's such a swell guy, Tamino does not care. He only wants to know about what direction they should start looking in to find the princess. We then cut to a carriage arriving to a castle. It turns out to be King Sarastro's castle, as his evil advisor leads the princess out. And this advisor really feels like a Jafar type in a way. Like, they definitely took it from that more than anything else. And, Shark, go ahead.
It has the bird. With a bird alone, you can tell, oh, this Count Jafar.
Exactly.
Yep.
Another one of the Disney references there. So go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, we say this, it's a Jafar-like because he has that exact look that you would expect from the evil vizier or whatever kind of royal position you want to insert in this.
Basically, yes.
Now I'm basically reminded of the XR from the previous episode we tackled, where it's like, the evil vizier.
Oh, if only he was here. That would have made everything better.
Right.
Sure. Yeah, I know. Sure, would have been so much better that way. But what happens is King Sarastro asks if she knows who he is, as Pamina says that she stole him from her home. And like I say, I feel like Princess Pamina has the same, probably the most Good Times animation vibe to her, in that her design seems a little off. I don't know what happened. Something about it just does not click. And maybe they didn't have enough time to refine the face or something, but it does look a little off.
Yeah.
Something I noticed with the design is that most characters, you can see they are based on another Disney character. With the princess, however, I'm pretty sure it's based on the Zelda cartoon from Dick.
I could see that.
Yeah.
I could very well see that. Wow, that's a very good idea. But Pamina tries to get out of the situation by kicking the advisor's foot and runs as Sarastro says to follow her. She almost makes it to the gate, but is caught by the guards. King Sarastro tells to put her in the tower as she gasps in horror. And we then get a fade to black here, as this was obviously a made-for-TV movie. And when we get back to the show, we then see Tamino and Papageno are riding off into the fog, as Papageno says they are traveling in the right direction, to the east. Tamino stops and angrily tells them that they're supposed to be in the west. Obviously, what happened was they went east, they went west, but they weren't. They were supposed to go west.
Yeah. Absolutely. Oh my gosh.
Our mandatory SpongeBob reference for the episode.
Yep, we got that out of our system here. But it's here where we also get something that was probably cut out, and it definitely feels like something is missing, because Papageno mentions about getting directions from an owl. And that's obviously was probably in the opera, but here, for whatever reason, they didn't animate it. So it just feels like something they threw in that the audience would have no frame of reference for. It's like, well, what owl are you talking about? You know?
Yeah.
But the group eventually makes it to a clearing, as they have no idea which way is west.
Or east.
or east, or west. And Tamino plays the magic flute as musical notes fly out of it and causes a nearby tree to point its branch in the right direction. And it's here we get another sarcastic remark from Grumbles the Crow. And we haven't really talked about him that much, because his role seems like it's just to complain into the camera. Like, he's meant to be, I guess, like, comedy relief, but that role is also with Papageno, so it feels even more unnecessary. So go ahead, Strkyer, you were saying?
Yeah, but that is like, I guess they made a crow tell because, kids movie, kids love talking animals, but we already had Papageno, so was it really necessary to add yet another animal that's an animal talk?
Honestly, that reminds me of that one crow enemy from Mario 2, and I just imagine him and Mario as Papageno being like having this sort of like dynamic going on.
Yeah.
I can see that. I can kind of see that too.
Yeah.
But what happens is the group travels over mountains and various different landscapes, which are pretty well animated. I have to admit that the backgrounds look good. One thing that doesn't is the walk cycles on the horses, which normally I would not mention this because it's so minor, but it just looks so weird. I have to bring it up. The walk cycle of the horses during these scenes looks so like gangly and awkward. I feel like this was like pencil tests that they had to shove into the final product because they had no time to reanimate it. It really feels like that. Kind of a minor thing, but yeah, definitely something that, is very noticeable. Oh, go ahead, Matt.
Did we mention that this was made near the end of Ruby Spears' life as a company, and they were struggling financially?
Yeah, you can definitely see that in a lot of the sequences, probably most notably in this, but that's the other thing that's weird about this, because sometimes they have an insane amount of detail. One part we'll definitely talk about later, but there's some parts that feel like they're so rushed, but other parts that has such an insane level of detail to it. It feels like they put emphasis in, with some places and just coasted on others. But what happens is the group eventually make their way to a forest as Papageno throws Grumble off the horse out of being annoyed with him. But it turns out that was a good thing because Grumble stumbles upon a cavern, as it turns out that where the sun and the moon meet it's night out and the moon is there, but Tamino notices a large rock shaped like the sun, and that is where the sun meets the moon, which, okay. The group, and it's here, go ahead, sorry, Matt.
You flipped it. The sun was out.
Oh, sorry, my apologies.
And the rock was shaped like a crescent moon.
Sorry, my apologies. Sorry, that notes was some stuff there. But anyway, what happens is we then get another moment that definitely points out to why this was rushed. The group enter a cave as Papageno talks about how scary it is, and it's a frightening place, and it's dark and foreboding. And literally 2 seconds later, they just exit the cave as soon as they went in, and it is just so strange, for to have that happen. It really feels like the cave sequence is meant to be longer. Maybe they were even supposed to be like a song in there or something, but it's something that really feels like it was just chopped out to pieces. Go ahead, Chuck.
It doesn't help that it's like built up like this dangerous cave that no one returns. Oh, we're out already.
Exactly.
We're here.
Yep, that's exactly it. But what happens is they approach the castle as Papageno is worrying about cannons and guards, but Tamino is just wondering how beautiful Pamina is. We cut to the Queen of the Night, who is watching this through a magic mirror, another Disney reference, haha. The Queen of the Night is overjoyed that Tamino is there, and that she will have Pamina back as soon as possible and finally defeat Sarastro one and for all. We then cut back to Sarastro's castle as Pamina is looking over the balcony and is holding an amulet. Tamino approaches the castle, but an alligator just randomly walks out of the moat and snaps at them before just walking back in. Like, I imagine that originally they animated the alligator maybe attacking them and he has to fend it off with a sword, but they probably thought, no, that's too hard. Let's just have him walk back in the water.
Also, one alligator.
Yeah,
apparently
that's
enough for them to, we tried.
Exactly, yeah. Grumbles and Papageno literally are just, oh well, let's go home. We tried. But Tamino uses the magic flute, and here you think that'd be interesting. Like, he uses the magic flute to, I don't know, remove the alligators from the moat, or maybe make him fly up to the castle, to the balcony. But no, when he plays the magic flute, what it does is it just lowers the drawbridge, which it's interesting because it seems like it takes the easiest way to solve a problem, which, it's definitely an interesting take on it. But Tamino eventually winds up in Pamina's room. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. Also, I will say this: it was a very convincing crocodile / alligator. So
yeah, I will admit that it was.
Yeah.
It was well animated. I give him that.
Yep. Math.
Okay, Math.
I'm at least going to defend the whole easiest route thing that the flute seems to be doing, because this is an 1800s opera. They were kind of limited as to what they could do for quote unquote magic effects.
True. Yeah, and I feel like in film in general that makes sense, but also that this is an animated adaptation. Just to kind of counterpoint that in an animated adaptation, you could do anything you really want with it. So It's not like other ones have not taken liberties to make things more fantastical than they already are. But in a way, it still works out. I definitely see your point there. But Tamino arrives in Pamina's room as she throws basically her pillows and pillow sheet at him. He tells her that he is there to rescue her and that his mother sent him here to save her. She doesn't believe him at first, but then he shows her the magic flute, and we then get to another song which has the pair embracing and singing about how they will protect and love each other. Then they waltz around the room in a way very similar to the end of Sleeping Beauty, and again, this is another song that just lasts for like 40 seconds and done, And I feel like as an introduction of this to be the opera for kids, I don't think it works because of that, because the songs are just too short. They're just, the kids will not be able to really absorb the music because it's over before it even begins.
Yeah, kind of feels like they took the songs that were important, or at the very least made songs that were necessary, quote unquote, to the entire story, and just slapped them in at key points. Like it was sort of like a scarce puzzle.
That's a good way of putting it. Yeah, it really feels like again that this was chopped to pieces, and it's a shame because otherwise it really isn't that bad. But after they sing, Papa Jano bursts into the room and tells them that the guards could be there any minute. He claims that he found a shortcut, only for them to open the door and be confronted with a guard. The trio runs off as the guards chase them, and it's here where, not yet, but Tamino basically cuts a rope and causes a tapestry to fall on them as they run through the royal hall. Seeing guards on both sides of them, Tamino closes the door, but they burst in anyway. The guards approach them as Tamino has an idea. He grabs a banner off the wall, fashions it into a rope, and the pair swing across it to the table, which this really feels like a Star Wars reference. Like the part where Luke and Leia embrace and they swing across the chasm to escape the stormtroopers. This definitely feels like an intentional reference to that scene in A New Hope. Yeah. Don't want to get copyright there, but again,
hands down.
Didn't want to get copyright struck there.
No, good.
Yeah.
You're saying it's fine.
Yeah, exactly. But it turns out that Papa Jano is afraid to do it, but because the guards are approaching, he tries to. He ends up crashing on Tamino, which causes him to lose the magic flute and Papa Jano to slide into the fireplace. The guards threaten Papa Jano while Tamino fights him off with his sword. Pamina actually does something of assistance in this part because he throws a serving tray and knocks one of them over. It's here we get another part that feels like an animation error because Tamino basically picks up 5 guards at once and throws them away, which it feels like it was meant to be only one. Yeah, it was probably meant to be one, but for some animation error, they put 5 of them in. So this makes this Tamino look like he's as strong as Superman. So
yeah, or at the very least as strong as Captain America.
That too.
Oh man.
So Shark, you were saying?
Yeah, the prince. This isn't the only time the prince was like maximum strength, because later in the movie he does crazy stuff that really feels like he's Superman.
Yeah, it definitely is really interesting that. But it turns out that King Sarastro has the magic flute, and Tamino basically gives up and is brought before him in his throne room. King Sarastro asks why he is there and who sent him. but Tamino refuses to give him the information even under the threat of execution. Papa Geno tells him everything, hoping to be freed, but instead he and Tamino is to be thrown into the dungeon. Unfortunately, we do not get a scene where the advisor disguises himself as an old man to get them out of it. You've heard of the golden rule, haven't you? He who has the gold makes the rules.
Oh, boy.
Had to make that joke, sorry. But
all good.
Tamino reveals his love for Pamina, and here's the moment that I didn't really know much about the opera going into this, so it actually did take me by surprise. Sarastro reveals that Pamina is his daughter, and that she is not related to the Queen of the Night at all. The Queen of the Night is watching this on her mirror, and it turns out that Sarastro is telling the truth because she blames her fairies on this, claiming that Pamina will receive magic powers on her 18th birthday, and she captured Pamina to ensure that no one will be more powerful than her. So I guess this means one thing we've learned from the Magic Flute. Mozart invented the concept of twist villains.
Right?
Indeed.
So, hey, Matt, you were saying?
Yeah, when I saw that, all I could hear was an M. Night Shyamalan voice in my head. What the twist?
Yeah, what a twist.
Nice. That's a good one.
Yeah, also, another thing I was thinking is like... something I was thinking is the character whose design is a mixture between Maleficent and the Evil Queen is evil?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
What a big shock. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But the king's advisor suddenly appears in her kingdom, again, for no reason. Like, he literally just shows up in the castle, and he tells her that he wants to work for her because he wants to rule Sarastro's kingdom for his own. We cut back to Sarastro's kingdom as the king explains that Pamina's amulet will give her magical powers and make her stronger than the queen. It turns out that her backstory is she was stolen as soon as she got her medallion at her christening by the queen, who had transformed into the form of a bat. Pamina wonders why the queen stole her and didn't just take the amulet away, but the king explains that she has to be wearing the medallion for its powers to work. Yeah. Nice. But we then get something that, again, feels really rushed. She asks how she can trust the king, as he shows her that her medallion is also his kingdom's royal emblem. And what would have been more interesting is if we spent time with Pamina basically caught between two worlds, like the woman who raised her as a child and who she thought was her mother, or this total stranger who claims to be her father and her true birthright. It would have been really interesting if we got like a kind of a conflict between that, but no, Pamina instantly accepts this with no hesitation, which is a big shame.
Dang.
Yeah. Strkyer,
so basically, we'll have in early Fire Emblem Fates.
In a way, kind of.
It will have in Fire Emblem Fates. Sorry.
Yeah. Huh. I definitely can kind of see that in a way. But it turns out that the king mentions that Pamina's mother died in childbirth, but Sarastro does not trust Tamino, and he wonders if he would take her to the Queen of the Night. Tamino says that he would never do that, as Sarastro has to come up with a way to test his loyalty, and that Papa Geno is forced to help him.
Dang.
Yep. That's all right. That's right. Papa Geno is forced to run. Tries to run, but he's caught by Tamino. But it turns out in this magical task, Tamino cannot use the magic flute. Meanwhile, we then cut to the evil advisor and the Queen of the Night talking about their evil plan. And then we get our next musical number, which is probably the worst one, with the Queen of the Night singing about how she will get her revenge on Sarastro, as the animation shows her singing amongst dark clouds, lightning striking, and him being picked up by a group of brambles and being thrown out. And this is really the worst song of the movie, especially compared to how it is meant to sound in the opera. It sounds so ridiculous here. Math, go ahead.
So it was so bad, and constantly throughout this song, which is the longest one in the movie, oddly enough, at 1:05, There was this constant where the Queen of the Night was just laughing like ha 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 ha, like that. So I was like, there's got to be something lost in translation here. This can't be right. I looked up the original song, and what that was the soprano just constantly hit the highest note she could throughout the entire song, just going like ah or like that. So, because Mozart loved to do that with his sopranos in the day. So,
Indeed.
instead of actually trying to do that, they basically just replaced that with ha, like a laugh. It was so bad.
It really is. It really is. Like, this is the worst song in the movie by a mile. And it's a shame because the original version of it is really good. And again, as I mentioned earlier, this really kind of makes the opera not seem as good as it probably is for children because of this. And it's kind of a shame.
I will say this, though.
Yeah, congratulations, Magic Flute. You have a worse villain sound than This Is the Thanks I Get.
Yeah, it is. This is worse. This is worse. I will actually agree with you there. This is way worse.
Also doesn't, it also doesn't help that, what was I going to say? It also doesn't help that this is actually accurate to the freaking Mozart thing, which sucks, but it's whatever.
It's kind of a shame, But it turns out that we then cut back to Tamino as the song ends, as he and Papa Jano's task is to collect a blue pearl from the Maiden of the Lake of Treachery. They're busy sailing on the lake with a raft. Obviously, they stopped off at the old man from the original Legend of Zelda's cave, and they picked it up from him.
Indeed.
But the waves come and destroy it. The pair eventually make it to a shore where a woman sits by a cave and says that she has treasures for them. We then cut back to... Yep, and we find out why in a little bit. But we then cut to King Sarastro's castle as the advisor sneaks in. King Sarastro is wishing Pamina a happy birthday, but she's not happy about it as she wants to see Tamino. As King Sarastro leaves, the advisor arrives and tells her that Tamino is waiting for her downstairs. And we then cut to Tamino and Papa Jano in a cavern that is filled to the brim with treasure. The maiden is offering all kinds of jewels and gems to Papa Jano, who wants to try and take them, but Tamino stops him. Yep. Matthew, you were going to say?
Oh, hey, look, the Cave of Wonders.
I was just going to say that. I was literally just going to say that Tamino takes only a blue pearl from the chest, while Papa Jano is busy stuffing his pockets filled with treasure to care about this. So I guess that makes him the Abu in this situation.
Indeed.
But instead of the cave melting, what happens is a cave wall opens up and a dragon comes out from under it. And this dragon is probably the second most interesting design dragon in this, because most dragons have like arms and legs and that. This one has tentacles for its limbs. It is something I have never seen before. I have never seen it since. It is a design that I am shocked no one has tried again, because if nothing else, I give him points for originality because it looks unique. Go ahead, Shark.
But yeah, don't stand out yet, guys, because it still isn't the dragon we're talking about.
Nope. We're getting to it. We're going to get to it sooner than you think, but not right now. Just a little while longer for that. But what happens is the tentacle dragon, we'll call it, it swipes at Papa Jano before picking him up and literally shaking all the treasure out of him in a cute moment. Tamino knocks a stalagmite on its head, which turns its attention towards him. Tamino throws a candelabra in its mouth, stopping it from snapping at them as they escape. And it's here we get something that feels a bit like a plot hole, and maybe it was explained in the opera, because when they arrive on the island, their raft is completely destroyed. Like, it's turned into like shards of wood. When they go back out of it, it is instantly repaired, which feels kind of weird.
I will say this. I believe that the initial whole drowning thing and whatnot was kind of an illusion to like throw them off and get them to the island faster. They actually made it, but in the end, it was all a trap for the most part. A trap of the mind.
I can see that. That would be very interesting if they meant it like that. That definitely would be unique. But we then cut back to the castle as Pamina is taken to is taken to a cellar by the royal advisor, but she falls down a hole. It turns out she lands in a cage as the Queen of the Knights has her taken back to her castle. We then cut to Tamino and Papageno giving the pearl to Sarastro, who says that the prince is indeed worthy of having his daughter. They go up to his room for Tamino to ask her hand in marriage, but she's gone. As they search, Tamino finds a piece of cloth that it turns out belongs to the advisor. We then cut to Pamina and the Queen of the Night riding alongside each other. Pamina asks the Queen if she ever loved her, but the Queen only laughs, claiming that she wanted just to use her powers and never truly cared for her. And it's here we get the moment that really is probably the most rushed of the entire movie. She has the fairies get a goblet and puts a sleeping poison in it. She forces Pamina to drink it or she will kill Tamino. And you think that Pamina would resist or try to, believe that the Queen of the Night is telling a lie. But no, it literally is like she sings a song that seems out of place here about how she will drink the potion to save Tamino, even though it wasn't the original opera. Here it feels out of place. She drinks it and falls asleep. And again, this just feels so rushed because this has to be longer. This could not have been this short if it was meant to be like that, So, Strkyer,
the whole
what are you going to
thing
say
is
about
basically, drink this poison. No, do it. Okay.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, Matt?
A woman that looks like Grunhilde gave a magic sleeping thing to the lovely princess. Where have I seen this before?
Huh.
Angron Kazooie, maybe?
Oh my goodness.
Nice.
If only.
Well,
there's talking birds here, so...
Yep. Oh, man, if Papageno was Kazooie instead, that would make this 50 times better.
Yeah. Or maybe if he was Banjo.
That too. But we then cut to Sarastro going to the throne room as the royal advisor is sitting on the throne and practicing his rule. He claims that he always hated Sarastro as the two of them basically engaged in a sword fight. And again, we really don't mean to keep beating this dead horse here. But again, this sword fight lasts for, and I timed it, this sword fight lasts for 25 seconds of the two basically sword fighting before being defeated by Sarastro. And this really feels like something that, again, should have lasted at least a minute, maybe a minute 30. You could have had them go to different parts of the castle. You could have had them, swipe and jump at each other. But it's literally just the two of them, clash swords for a moment before Sarastro knocks it out of the royal advisor's hand. And again, he wins.
Yeah, just what exactly was your plan here? You work with the Night Queen and eventually get the castle and you think everything's going to be hunky-dory? I mean, seriously, you're dealing with a yoked freaking king who is probably as strong, if not even stronger than Tamino, and you challenge him to a sword fight and what, you lose? I don't think you thought this one through, buddy.
Exactly.
Exactly. The queen didn't really do anything to give him power or status. He just sat on the throne and said, "I'm in charge now."
Yeah, as a flex.
Oh, God.
I think that the vizier was going with the precedent that was set in the court case of Finders v. Keepers.
Nice. Oh, that's a good one. But what happens is Sarastro then sees Tamino off and gives him back the magic flute. They ride in the forest, but Papageno is worried about being late because when Pamina officially turns 18, the queen will have all the powers of the amulet. He wishes that they could fly, which, again, this doesn't make sense. And again, if it doesn't make sense with the Mozart one, too, then Mozart probably was not thinking about plot holes. He probably was thinking about other things, let's be honest. But Papageno is a bird, but he can't fly. But regardless, yep.
Half bear, half bird, don't forget.
Yep. But Tamino plays the flute, which gives both his horse and Papageno's donkey wings as they fly off through the sky. The Queen of the Night places Pamina's body in the center of a temple as Tamino arrives. She taunts him that only the medallion can free Pamina. Then she blasts him with her magic. And I will give this credit. This moment actually really, really pleasantly surprised me. And again, for something that was written in the 1700s, this is incredibly clever, even for something today. Tamino tries to use the magic flute on the Queen of the Night, but it doesn't work because, in a really clever twist, it was hers to begin with. Of course she wouldn't let the magic flute beat her, because it was hers to start with. That is something that really, I actually give him thumbs up for that. That is actually really clever writing right there.
Yeah, like seriously, you got a mystic flute from basically the equivalent of Maleficent. What did you think was going to happen if you tried using it on her?
Exactly.
I admittedly didn't fully see this coming when I first saw this, but yeah. But yeah,
it is very, very clever. Yeah, very clever moment. Shark, you were saying?
Another thing I do kind of like that, because of the twist of the queen being evil and the way it was presented at the start, it basically makes fairies of all magic creatures the evil henchmen this time, and that's something you don't usually see.
Exactly. Right. That is also really, really rare. Even today, you do not see that. And again, Mozart was subverting expectations before there were expectations to subvert. You got to figure, the Magic Flute was written before the Grimm's fairy tale, the Brothers Grimm compiled the fairy tales into a book. So this predates most of the fairy tale tropes that we know, like being codified. This predates it by a long time, which is really impressive.
Indeed.
Yep. But what happens is she blasts him with magic as the flute shatters, and it's here where we get to the other moment that, again, feels like a weird animation error, because Tamino picks up an entire metal cage and throws it on top of her. Like, without breaking a sweat, he just picks it up and throws it at her. I wonder if the cage is meant to be, like, smaller or something, because this cage is as big as he is, It's so large that it actually manages to trap the Queen of the Night in there entirely. She drops her wand on the ground, and what happens next is Papageno actually helps out. He puts Tamino on the wagon as the Queen of the Night demands her fairies stop them, which, as Shark says, a really unique twist on things, with fairies being the evil henchmen. Whereas, like, you would expect it to be like goblins or ghouls or like skeleton men or something, but no, it's three, conventionally attractive, like Sleeping Beauty type fairies in that.
Yep. Subverting tropes, people. The Mozart staple.
Yep. But the group basically tries to get Pamina, but Papageno is ready for them because he traps them in a net. So apparently Mr. Crocker was right.
Birds.
You can't trap fairies in a net. Yep. Matt, you want to say?
Yeah, all I could think when I saw that was, I, Papageno Crocker, have finally captured my fairy godparents!
Oh, God.
Oh, my God.
That is a great impression right there. Wow.
Yes.
But classic. Oh. It turns out that midnight has arrived as the queen reaches her wand and smashes the cage before approaching them menacingly. And it's here that we get to the moment why we are talking about this, because the Queen of the Night transforms herself into a dragoness. And that's not all, folks, because this has the best animation of the movie. The close-ups on her hands and her face stretching out into a snout are really well done. Like, almost disturbingly so compared to the rest of this film. So, Matthew, you were saying? Maggie, rather, Angron.
Yeah, and for just a low price of 2 heads, you get a unique dragon design as well.
Yep, nice.
And it's basically kind of looks like the proto form of 5-headed dragon, but she absolutely looks a lot more unique than that.
Yep, that's true.
Yeah, this is easily one of the most detailed non-Ludmilla dragon transformations out there.
Yeah, I definitely can see that in the thing, and that's the other thing that's interesting. Like Angron just said, is that the Queen of the Night transforms herself into a dragoness, which, number one, very much reminds me of Ludmilla from Bartok the Magnificent, especially with like the rotund, bottom-heavy shape, the little like warts and bumps on her body, and even the horns are very similar, which is very unique because, I mean, I highly doubt Don Bluth had anything to do with this movie, so it's a strange coincidence, but it's an interesting one nonetheless. So Shark, what were you going to say?
Mention as dummy thick too.
Yeah, I am a huge fan of. Sorry for interrupting. I'm just saying I'm a huge fan of pair dragons, and yeah, this works for me.
Yes.
Same. She looks so good there. But as Angron mentioned earlier, her dragoness form actually has two heads. Like her dragoness head splits into two, which gives her a really unique design that she's not really a hydra. And the way that she looks is, again, very reminiscent of Ludmilla, but they still give her her own thing, which I give them a lot of credit to. And this is also the only version of the opera to have a dragoness. She's typically defeated by being struck by lightning or cast away into the winds in that. So good on Ruby Spears for giving us something we want to see.
Indeed.
Yep. But Tamino strikes at the dragoness Queen of the Night with his sword. As Papageno wonders what he can do, the fairies decide basically to become good, which begs the question, why didn't they just do it in the first place to be good? They tell Papageno to get the magic flute as he does so, but the queen breathes fire at him and sets him on fire, causing him to run to a fountain to extinguish himself. In a moment that kind of reminds me of when Mr. Krabs got set on fire, in a pretty funny moment right there.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. But it turns out that Pamina wakes up. The magic is in her medallion as the spell is officially completely broken. The queen storms over to them, and in another really good moment that, again, always is a big plus when we're talking about dragonesses, she speaks in her dragoness form because she says if she can't have the powers, nobody can. And what's also interesting, both of her heads, I believe, speak while she's doing this, which is something they didn't have to animate, but I'm glad they did.
Yeah.
Yep.
Shark.
Drone to dragoness sounds.
Makes you appreciate it, actually.
Yeah.
Yep. But no, like I say, it really was a good moment right there. But it turns out that she grabs Tamino with her talon and tosses him to the ground. The fairies tell Pamina to play the magic flute and use her medallion at the same time. She does so, which causes the queen to turn into stone and crumble into rubble. But this is done in an interesting way because what happens is first her dragoness form turns into stone and crumbles into stone. Then from the inside of the dragon form, her human form appears and also crumbles into stone, which very unique way of doing a villain death. I give him credit. I give him a lot of credit because this is all Ruby Spears' originality here. And, definitely got to give him credit there. So, Shark, you were saying?
Well, the way she dies makes me think, oh, they didn't need a magic float. They just needed a SpongeBob after he ate his special sundae because in that episode when he says hi to a mailman, something similar happens.
Yeah. Oh, if only we had that happen. Then him and Patrick could have gone to the movies with Papageno.
Yeah.
Classic. But anyway, what happens next is Tamino and Pamina embrace as we then cut to them being married by King Sarastro. Papageno realizes that with the Queen of the Night being basically dead, he's out of a job. King Sarastro asks Papageno to work for him alongside his birdcatcher, Papagena, who this is something that is very interesting, though. Papagena appears way earlier in the original opera. Way earlier than the Queen of the Night's defeat. And to have her just show up at the end like this feels really weird that they had like this kind of integral character to the story and they just have her appear at the end. And Papageno and Papagena's song actually is added to be the final one, which again feels kind of awkward because it's not. It's like if you took a puzzlement from The King and I and put that right at the end. It feels like it doesn't belong there, It feels really, really weird. So, Shark, you were saying?
Yeah, I get what you were saying about her being introduced at the very last minute. But another thing I could also think is, Madame Cloak. When there's again.
Yeah. Oh, if only she was there. It also kind of reminds me in Anastasia with It reminds me of Anastasia with Bartok and the female bat that appears just randomly, like out of the nowhere. It really feels like that kind of moment.
The final joke of the movie, like for kids' movies.
Yeah.
True. Yeah, I definitely can see that.
Happy ending that the happy ending that the side character gets and probably either deserves or doesn't.
Yep, true. So, Matthew, you were gonna say?
Yeah, just doubling back to the Queen of the Night's death for a second. We've done so many dragon features at this point. This isn't even the first time that we've had a dragoness die by turning to stone. See the Tom and Jerry movie that we talked about. It's weird that this keeps happening.
Indeed.
It is kind of, yeah. You know, this is actually, I think, the second or third time that happened. Shark?
Yeah, another one I can think of is Ember from DC Superhero Girls.
That too. That's also how she was defeated. Yeah, it's very, very, very much like that. But what happens is the movie ends with Tamino and Pamina riding away off happily ever after. And this version of the Magic Flute is pretty much really forgotten. I don't think it ever got a release outside of VHS. It definitely is extremely obscure, you know.
Yep.
And it's kind of a shame because it really isn't that bad. I mean, we've ripped on it for a couple things, but really looking at it in a vacuum, this is a 5 out of 10 movie. But it's a shame because if they just added 20, maybe 30 minutes to the runtime, you could have easily had like a 7 out of 10 movie right here. You almost had greatness. And again, I feel like Ruby Spears were not the ones calling the shots in terms of like the length of the actual film. It felt like whoever the TV network was that commissioned this, they were the ones who were pulling the strings here, and they were the ones who demanded a 40-minute runtime so that it'd be an hour long with commercials so they could get a whole bunch of advertising in or something. And again, it feels like it's a shame. It feels like there's a cut out there buried in some archive of this being longer than it is.
Indeed.
So, Matt?
Yeah, I've described this as 4 out of 10 myself because I agree with you that it absolutely does suffer from the extreme heavy cuts and short runtime, but also when it came out is kind of to its own detriment. This came out in '94, and we were heavily moving away from this sort of low budget, low production animated special kind of thing. Series and specials at the time actually had higher quality and higher budget, and it did not help that they were constantly referencing Disney of all people in this production. So it just came off as something that was like 5 years too late for what it was.
Indeed.
Yeah. If this came out like in like 1980, let's say hypothetically this came out like 1985, this probably would have been longer and it would have had more of a budget, but it feels a lot shorter because of that, you know? It really does, and it's kind of a shame, you know?
Indeed.
That, what they do with that. But now it's time for the question of the episode, which is, what is your favorite musical adaptation? And by that, what we mean is works that were not musicals being adapted into musicals or jukebox musicals. We're not talking about like stage musicals happening, stage musicals like, say, for example, Grease being brought to a film. That does not count for this episode. We'll talk about that another time.
Indeed.
My answer, I have like 2 or maybe 3 answers for this, which are going to be very interesting. The first one is going to be in terms of live action. I think one of my all-time favorites, and it's one that might be considered somewhat problematic today because of the casting choice, but it's so good, it's really hard to deny, is something I just mentioned, which is The King and I, the 1950, I believe 54, 55 movie starring Deborah Kerr and the amazing Yul Brynner as the King of Siam, a role which he would reprise pretty much his entire life. Like, he played that role, I believe, more than 1,000 times, and by the end of it, he could do the role basically blindfolded and upside down, and he is so good in this. And this is a movie that, unfortunately, it was made in the 50s. Some of the actors did not do their own singing. Deborah Kerr was actually dubbed over by a woman named Marnie Nixon, who did most of the dubbing of 50s movie musicals of people that could not sing, like Audrey Hepburn in My Fair Lady could not sing, so she was dubbed over by Marnie Nixon. And it's kind of a shame that happened, but that was the studio politics at the time. But it really is a movie, The King and I, that is just such good spectacle. And Yul Brynner is one of those actors that he's like a Tim Curry or like basically Christopher Walken type. Anything he's in, anything that stars Yul Brynner, instantly makes it worth watching. And he is so good in that. That's going to be my live action choice. However, I also have an animated choice.
What did you say? What did you say was the live action one again? I didn't quite hear it.
The King and I.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
Yeah, The King and I from the 50s. Yeah. The animated one is going to be a Disney one. It's going to be Hunchback of Notre Dame, which I feel
that's a beautiful one.
It's a beautiful one. It's one of the. It's not my favorite Disney movie. I have others that are like favorites, and it doesn't really reach the height of them. But it's one that is so insanely daring for Disney. Of all companies, saying we're going to adapt Victor Hugo. We're going to adapt a story where a hideously deformed man basically has to fight religious persecution and the mob mentality
Disney
in that.
Massive.
And it really, really works out to its best. I mean, you got Tony Jay as Frollo, probably one of the best villain performances in anything ever. And it is so. And Tom Hulst, who, in a connection to this episode, he played Quasimodo. He also played Mozart in Amadeus. So that's another little connection right there. Yeah, he's very good in Amadeus too. Check that out. Yeah, and it's a 3-hour-long movie, but it's fantastic. But the only thing that is kind of a downgrade is the gargoyles. And even with that, I give a caveat because 2 of the gargoyles are pretty good. It's the one voiced by Jason Alexander, who is just so obnoxious. He kind of drags it down a little bit. That's why I can't say it's like one of my all-time favorite Disney movies, because I feel like if Jason Alexander's gargoyle was a little more morose and a little more in tune with the other 2, I would really give it like almost a perfect score. But he really kind of just drags it down a little too much, unfortunately, which, again, not a bad thing, but you can definitely feel like something like A Guy Like You was shoved in just to ensure that the kids don't get bored, Like, oh, we're going to have the wacky sidekick song.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Yep.
But again, the other two gargoyles are really good. Those guys I like. It's just the one voiced by Jason Alexander that's the worst,
I really didn't have a problem with most of that movie, to be honest. I just ended up enjoying it despite Jason Alexander's character.
Oh, no, I definitely can see that. But what it is, too, is that... there's a train of thought here. But yeah, aside from that, Hunchback is definitely one of Disney's most daring movies and probably one of their best ones. That, not best maybe in terms of quality or best in terms of like timelessness. It's their best in terms of daring. It's their best in terms of doing something no one thought they would do, and they pull it off immensely well. It is such a fantastic movie, but that's going to be my choices for my favorite musical adaptations. It's going to be The King and I, the Yul Brynner version, not the animated version, which, tiny tangent here, that movie was so hated by the Rodgers and Hammerstein estate. They will never have an animated film made of any of their musicals ever again in perpetuity because of that movie. So the animated one really is not good.
Mozart will have to do the same about this one.
Yeah, well, Mozart did not live to see film, so we can only speculate with that. But that's my answers for it. Angron, what would you say would be your favorite musical adaptations of works?
Oh dear, that is a tough one because with the added bonus that jukebox musicals count, that kind of puts 2 of my musical adaptations on a spot, because one of them is Happy Feet, one that I grew up with, one that basically had easily one of the best characters, in my opinion, Gloria. And,
awesome choice right there.
And basically it was made by the same person who made Mad Max. So I mean, honestly, kind of the same, all things considered. But then we got something like Sing, which is absolutely just amazing. Even though it's like the most cookie cutter cast and story, more or less, it definitely tells it in a way that absolutely is amazing. In a way that makes you feel for the characters, in a way where the campiness and overall the freaking obvious stuff kind of works. It's not, and it's honestly for that reason that. Oh, not to mention we got freaking Scarlett Johansson singing her freaking heart out. So yeah, as much as I love Happy Feet, and as much as it will remain a childhood classic, sequel notwithstanding, I will absolutely have to say Sing for this one.
Nice.
You there?
I'm here. Yeah, I'm here. No, I really can see that. You know, I definitely those are great choices. Like especially Happy Feet, which is a movie that even though I won Best Animated Feature, I feel like now it's more obscure than then, which is very strange. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, now that you mention it, that is funny.
You know, like this movie, it beat Cars and it beat Monster House.
Yeah.
For Best Animated Feature, and
that's interesting.
Yep, and yet no one really talks about it. But no, those are great choices you made right there.
Oh dang! Okay, I think I might just do a tie between those. In that case, Happy Feet absolutely deserves more love.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. definitely a good thing right there. So, Strkyer, what would you say is your favorite musical adaptation of things?
Okay, so I kind of grew up watching a lot of musicals. Because, like, mainly Disney, but, like, as I got older, I ended up watching a very unique Tim Burton movie. Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street.
I don't know if that works because it actually was a stage musical before it was a movie.
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah, unfortunately, it was.
Wasn't that the one with Johnny Depp and Rick Ashton? Rest in peace.
Yeah. And do you want to know who the original Mrs. Lovett was on Broadway? You would never guess this. Angela Lansbury.
Well, dang.
Okay. I guess I can just say what my pick is. Actually,
go ahead.
Okay.
If y'all know me by now, one of my all-time favorite movies is actually The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Nice. That's a great choice there.
Because it was actually based on a poem that Tim Burton wrote while he was in high school.
Yep.
Or was it in college?
I think it was high school actually, but no, that is a great choice right there. A lot of people don't know it was based on a children's book, and it's one that, again, feels like it is so well done because you have the great animation by Henry Selick. You have like the Burton designs because he did all the character designs and that, which are so cool. And again, it's definitely an excellent choice right there because it's one that, again, feels so alive in ways that a lot of movies don't. And again, I think what helps is the stop motion.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it does for sure.
That reminds me, actually, for non-jukebox musicals, I would either go with Princess and the Frog or Little Shop of Horrors. Just throwing it out there. Yep.
Because Little Shop of Horrors technically is an adaptation of the Roger Corman movie, which, spoiler alert, is nothing like the original. And on streaming services, you'll usually see like a picture of Audrey 2 from the 1986 version. But no, it's not. It's the one from the it's usually the Jack Nicholson movie because it's public domain. And yes, Jack Nicholson is in it. And no, he does not play Seymour, as some misleading posters will try to tell you. He plays the dentist patient, the masochist.
Nice, the masochist.
Yeah, it's
Cue the Markiplier line here. People might mistake me for some kind of a masochist.
Nice.
Oh my goodness. But yeah, I first played Kingdom Hearts, and then I got interested in it so much that I even borrowed it from like a neighbor, the movie from a neighbor. Nice. I ended up actually getting the movie later on because of how myself, because I love the movie so much. It ended up just going down as like one of my top 5 or even top 3 favorite Disney movies ever.
Oh, that's cool.
I can definitely see that. I definitely can see that, because again, it really is a good movie, It really is one that it's held up insanely well, and I feel like Disney now appreciates it more than Disney did then, because it was a hit, but it wasn't a huge hit, and it actually was released with Touchstone Pictures because they're afraid of releasing it under the Walt Disney banner, interestingly enough.
Yeah, I mean, they did the same thing for Mission to Mars, so that's not too surprising.
Which Touchstone was actually was originally Disney studio, which it closed down, didn't it?
I think so. I'm not sure.
Yeah, but because of how popular Nightmare Before Christmas was, they just started releasing it with with their Disney logo on it.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah, it definitely is a great choice right there. So, Math, what would be your pick for your favorite musical adaptation?
I'm not using Disney because that's just too easy.
Yeah. We
Same.
Completely get with that.
Yep.
So, I'm going to preface this by saying I hate jukebox musicals with a passion. I have never found one that I like that actually works.
Not even Happy Feet or Sing?
I was about to say, except for Sing.
My man.
Sing and Sing 2 are my guilty pleasure movies. There's something about them that just worked for me that no other jukebox musical ever has, and I cannot explain why.
Wow,
the character designs are great. The story is in the first one is simplistic, dumb, and just there to move the plot along, but the songs are all fantastic. The second one, I think, has slightly lesser songs. Not that they're bad, just not as good as the first ones. But the plot is actually surprisingly good.
Indeed.
Oh, well then.
And
continue. Sorry.
Just especially in the first one, I really love the way that they implemented the songs into the musical production that they did in both the movies, but especially the first one. Ash's songs are always my favorite.
Oh, hell
Just
yeah.
something about that character really works above all the others.
Yeah, I'll bet.
All right.
Yeah, I definitely can see that. So, like I said, the thing that's interesting is with Sing as well is it's probably one of Illumination's better movies, especially like I heard the second one in particular is really good. And
heck yeah.
It feels like it's one that really focuses a lot on the jukebox musical aspect of it, while also being just really fun. And we are going to talk about them on the podcast sometime in the distant future, so stay tuned for that when it does happen. But yeah, that's a great choice right there. Maybe then we'll have to wait and see. So, Shark, what would be your favorite musical adaptation?
Well, I was gonna say Nightmare Before Christmas, but Strkyer, say that. And yes, I like that movie a lot. So, and pretty much everything you guys said is pretty much what I like. It's catchy. The world itself is very good. The designs. And we all know the story that the voice actor doesn't actually sing the songs. He's actually the songwriter, Danny Elfman.
Yep.
Absolutely.
But yes, I won't want too much detail because we already talked about it. But another one I like a lot, and it's also under the Disney umbrella, is actually Heracles.
Oh yeah, Hercules.
That's a good one.
Nice.
Yes. We have Hercules planned for the podcast, by the way. We are going to get to it, so stay tuned for that one too. But that is a great choice there.
Rather than go like, this epic music about this ancient hero, they said, no, screw that. We're doing Broadway, baby.
Yeah, they made it really fun. They really made it a lot of fun.
They really made it fun. I get it has a few like 90s Superman sort of deal, but I don't care. It's fun.
It's fun. It's well animated. The build Hades is one of the best versions of Hades.
Hell yes!
The iconic
one. But it's a fun one. So yeah.
Oh yeah.
Nightmare Before Christmas and Heracles will be for me.
Oh hell yeah!
Definitely.
The iconic James Woods Hades.
He's so awesome. He is
a legend.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that when we get to the podcast. And one thing I do want to just bring up is that Jack Nicholson almost voiced Hades, but he apparently wanted too much money, so they got James Woods, and that was for the best.
It was, for sure.
Yep. So let's see who's next. Jordan, what would you pick for your favorite musical adaptation?
Well, like all everyone else's great choices were good, but I'm recently watching while you guys were podcasting a bit through today. I'm watching The Trumpet of the Swan.
Dang.
Oh,
interesting.
I've never heard of that one.
Same.
It's a good classic movie by I think not Universal, but it's about one swan named Louis who cannot sing or talk. So his father goes and steals a trumpet for him, to make his sound like most swans do. So Louis trying to save up money to pay back for the trumpet that his father stole. He's learning to make new friends with a human kid, and it's just, there's a couple of singings that these swans do. They sing and dance, and Louis trying to get his own voice, get through the trumpet.
So what was the movie called again?
The Trumpet of the Swan.
Nice.
Sounds like a sweet movie.
It's a sweet movie. There's a couple of songs to it that they have in here, like maybe about 4 songs, but it's like a heart family movie that they're all trying to do. Like one little kid or a swan cannot speak and sing, but he's like, I kind of wish I could sing and tell everyone what my thoughts are, but he can't. So again, his dad stole a trumpet for him to make his sound. Then he meets up with a kid that befriends him and tries to help him. Like, we can help pay your dad back for the trumpet that he stole. Yeah, it's a kid friendly movie.
Yeah,
I might look into this actually.
Yeah, I might look into that.
I've never heard of it either. You know.
You can just look up on YouTube, and it'll be free from someone named the Throwback Tunes on YouTube. They have it for free to watch.
Oh, that looks pretty cool.
Yeah,
it's
an hour and check that out, you know?
It's an hour and 14 minute movie. Hour movie. I'm like about maybe halfway to the halfway point.
Sounds really interesting. I'll definitely check that out. You know, it definitely sounds really interesting. I've never heard of it before, but from what he sounds like, it actually does sound really, really good. Definitely gonna check that out. Evie,
it's like one of those Diamond in the Rough kind of movies that don't get a lot of value or whatever. But I've seen it when I was a kid, and I loved this movie when I was a kid.
Yeah, it's a nice one.
That sounds really, really good. You know. So, Evie, what would you say was your favorite musical adaptation of something? Like something that was not a musical being made into a musical.
And we got the Pokemon musical.
There's that, yep.
That's true, and the Poké Rap too.
That is true. That is very, very true. So yeah, I guess that one could count for his choice then.
I say I don't like musicals, so none of them actually.
Yeah, that's
not even the Poké Rap or a Pokemon musical. Dang.
I think of it like I ever want to see the Pokemon musical.
I mean, out of all of us, you're pretty much the biggest Pokemon guy of us all. So
yeah, but that doesn't mean I want to watch it.
Oof.
Yeah, I can see. That's a good one. So, and then last is our special guest, Python. What would be your favorite musical adaptation or something?
So, I'm really big into like movies that seem controversial. So, Song of the South.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, I like that movie. I don't care what anyone says; it's a pretty good movie.
People call it controversial. People say it's like somewhat racist. I just don't see it.
Yeah, I don't see it either. There's hardly much in there that absolutely is like in your face racist.
My great grandpa had it on VHS, and I just remember watching it a long time ago. And it was
I saw it on VHS too.
I just found it to be unique amongst other musicals that Disney made.
I can see that.
I'm gonna take a guess. You're talking about the Splash Mountain reference movie?
Yeah, let's just call it that. Yeah.
Yeah, the Splash Mountain movie.
So in Disney, they made a ride of Rare Bear, Rare Bunny, and Rare Fox, and it's the one that you're talking about that I've seen one time on the internet. Made me cry, and I definitely get what you're talking about. That movie is not racist whatsoever. It's just a heartfelt movie that's so good and touching.
Yeah, yes. I can kind of definitely see that.
So much yes.
Yeah, definitely. But like I said, it is a movie that I feel like it gets more flack than it deserves, especially from other stuff from other studios at the same time. But I can kind of see where you're coming with that, though. Yeah.
Nice, great pick.
Yep.
A lot of good picks.
Yep, a lot of good ones. So now it is time for the patent pending Dragoness Scale, where we rank our Dragoness from 1 to 10. This is going to be interesting because the Queen of the Night is very unique because she has elements from Maleficent, who previously got a very high score, and elements from Ludmilla that also got a very high score. And keep in mind, this is back when the podcast began, so we did not have nearly as much members or special guests as we do now. So that's very interesting. So, yeah, for Queen of the Night, I'm going to come and say it. This is going to be maybe being maybe a little too generous. I might give her a perfect score. I mean, she's based on Ludmilla, and Ludmilla got a perfect score with like the bottom heaviness and the horns and the like little bumps in the body and that. The double head is extremely unique. You know, I give him a lot of credit for that. The fact that she talks in her dragoness form is really, really good too. And yeah, I'm gonna give him a credit where credit is due. It is really such a good movie, you know. And she's such a good character, you know, because without her, this movie probably be a 3 out of 10. But she bumps it up 2 points, 1 for each head. Ha ha ha. But seriously though, she really is such a great character. I really do enjoy what they did with her. The voice is great. The design is great. The transformation is insanely detailed. What little we see of it. I should really dock a point off for not having a fully detailed transformation. But the parts we do get to see on screen are just so detailed enough. I literally can see no flaws with her at all. She gets a perfect score from me. So, nice. Angron, what would you give her?
I am gonna give her a little lower score. I will admit, I was not the biggest fan of her. She's not. There's nothing wrong with her. I just feel that out of every evil queen imaginable, she could have done better. Not to mention, I'm not the biggest fan of operas in general, the Magic Flute included. But I will say this. Her design as a dragon and her effectiveness as a villain definitely bumps her up by leaps and bounds. So it is with a very reluctant heart that I ultimately say that the Queen of the Night in this movie gets a 9 out of 10.
That's a really good one. Wow, I can see that.
Yeah.
Yep. So, because she really she takes elements from other dragonesses that we really, really enjoy, and she just keeps on doing it. Sometimes, like the simplest thing is the best one. So that really is a great reasoning right there. 9 out of 10 is really good. So Math, what would you give her?
So I really wanted to give her a 10 as well. because even though she is effectively just a redux of Maleficent and Grunhilde, she is really well done. Even taking into account that she is from an opera from the 1700s, the fact that she's kind of the precursor for a lot of Disney's characters helps that. So that's why she looks like that. It makes perfect sense. Unfortunately, I landed on a 9 instead of a 10 because the one thing I cannot forgive was that god awful Queen of the Night song. It was terrible, and I just, if it weren't for that song in there, she would have been a great character all the way through.
The singing ultimately kind of does lower this movie a little bit, and some of the characters.
Kind of almost killed it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I can kind of see where you're coming from.
But yeah, everything else really saves it. Character design, great. Dragon transformation, great. Dragon design, one of the more originals we've ever seen on this show. Detail of everything, really good. Just everything about her was great, except for that one aspect. And considering how bad we've said that was, the fact that she's still a 9 shows how good she was in general.
Exactly. She really, really is such a great character, and I definitely can see why. I can see her being probably one of the higher scoring dragonesses on the scale, or characters rather on the scale, which is very interesting because that means we'll have 2 in a row that got really high scores. The last one being Mom Munchapper from the Buzz Lightyear episode. So,
heck yeah!
Strkyer, what would you give her?
Oh, she absolutely gets a 9 from me.
Yes.
I still think the movie could have been better, but she was the highlight.
Easily. Yep.
That's it, plain and simple. She was the highlight of the movie for me.
Yep. And such a high scoring person like that deserves a high score if she was the best out of the movie. So see if we can keep this train going. Shark, what would you give her?
Yep, it's gonna keep going because I am giving her a 9 out of 10. And that's because, a lot of things that were say the design is great overall, the whole creativity or uniqueness of having 2 heads, and the tail transformation of what we see, because she actually does something we don't see with Ludmilla, which is the snout transformation. So that's one point she has over her.
Actually, you're right about that. Huh. I didn't.
True. Yep. Very, very true, you know?
Dang.
Yep.
The one thing that, and even then, is because if I went with decimals, it will be a 9.6. So actually, you know what? Give her 10. But because the one thing,
I'll change it. No problem.
The one thing that kind of is something that it is something that I wish there was more. And you gave her 2 heads, so I kind of wish they did something with that. Even like one head breathes fire and the other ice, or at one point one head warns the other about that. So I kind of wish they did take advantage of the design they gave her, but honestly, in general, no, she's almost perfect, and yeah, it's gonna be a 10 for that.
Wow, that is a great score right there. Wow, I was not expecting 2 out of 10 out of 10s, but let's see if we can keep this going. Jordan, what would you give her?
Jordan,
you there? That's okay. So we can come back to her.
Okay.
Evie, what would you give her?
I guess 9.
Sorry, what's that?
I guess 9.
Okay. Any particular reason or?
Jesse really doesn't really have one.
That's okay. Yeah. That's okay. Now let's see our special guest, Python. What would you give her?
Python, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
It's all good. Yeah.
I have a sort of soft spot for like multi-headed dragons or hydras, so like.
Yeah, boy.
8-ish, 8, nearly 9-ish.
Huh.
I don't know.
Okay, well, if you had to give one or the other, which one would you give? I'll put you down as 9 then. Okay, so let's see. Okay. Python. Jordan, you there?
Yep.
What score would you give the?
I'll give her. I mean, the movie was definitely interesting. I hate that they added a whole lot to it. I like the Queen's design, though I don't know why they should give her an extra head. Don't know why. We don't know how 2 heads, they say they're better than 1, but she's better with just 1 head than 2. Like her design, I give her a 9.
Okay, nice. So, wow, that means the Queen of the Night actually has one of the highest scores. I think she has probably the highest one since the Reluctant Dragon of all characters. Or, actually, no, wait. Yeah, the highest since the Reluctant Dragon in June. So that's very, very surprising.
Dang.
Yep, she's got a real good score there. So that's going to be it for this week. If you would like to, email us, or you want to send us how you would make this movie longer, you can email us at fierydiscourse@outlook.com. Visit us on Twitter at twitter.com/fierydiscourse. And be sure to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel and definitely subscribe to the playlist as well. Next time, we're going to be talking about something completely different that we have never talked about before on this podcast, because we've talked about movies, we talked about TV shows, we've talked about made-for-TV movies, but next time, we are going into the very next evolution of media pieces we are going to talk about, because we are discussing the 2003 theme park ride Shrek 4D, which is also known as the Ghost of Lord Farquaad in a film version. And that's going to be very interesting, because it being a theme park ride, we can't exactly get to Singapore or Japan, the only places that have it, to experience it. But we're going to find other ways to talk about everything with it. That'll be very interesting. That's going to be it for this week. And until then, thank you guys so much for watching, and take care.
Later, y'all.
Bye.
Adios.
Peace out.
See you all next week.